you are here today. I was wondering if there might want to be a volunteer to open in prayer for us tonight, because I know we all love to pray. Is there somebody who would be interested in doing that? And if not, I will. Oh, Sue, I see a half hand, Sue.
Me? Okay.
Do you want to pray us in?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Father, we thank you for each of those that has joined us. Pray for those who are probably in the process of doing so. Bless our time together tonight. Thank you for people who can speak so much information into our lives. May we be ready to accept it. Thank you, Father, for all you've done. Amen.
Amen. Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you. Oh, and Mary. Good to see you, Mary. Yay, Mary's here. All right. Well, welcome. Here for member circle number, I don't know. What are we on? Five? Amy, Jesse, come on. Okay, number 5, I think.
39.
39. What a great number.
how
Okay,
old
we're
you
on
are.
member circle number 39 tonight. So welcome everybody. We are glad that you're here. Going to talk about book sales tonight. Couple announcements in the meantime. I know that some of you have been waiting very anxiously for the recordings from the fall conference, and that's taken some time, and we apologize. There were some technical difficulties, but the good news is that in the next 2 days, you will all get information on the Facebook page and in the next newsletter on how to access those if you paid for them, and how to pay for them if you want to access them. We had really good sessions, and as some of you may know or may not know, our keynoter was unable to make it. She got COVID, poor lady. But Christina Suzanne Nelson graciously stepped in with our keynote and did an amazing job. They were really, really inspirational sessions. And so we have all that on recording if you're interested. And I would encourage you to to take the opportunity to learn. They'll only be available for 6 weeks, even when you pay for them. And that's kind of to protect the classes and the speakers so they can continue on and teaching those classes in other spaces. So FYI on that. And member circle going forward, we could still use a few occasional speakers, a couple times a year, guest speakers. So if anybody is interested in that, please contact me or contact Jesse and let us know. We'd be happy to consider you. We have some fun ones coming up. Jim Rubart's going to be doing one. It sounds like Tracy Heskett has a good one planned, which I'm looking forward to. And of course, Jesse always has good ones. So, you can always count on him to have good ones that are coming up.
If I could add there something, Julie, is that, I mean, we're trying to create a culture here in the member circle of not being like high stakes, and we're just kind of coming down, and we're, enjoying each other, and we're doing a lot of interactions. And so if you just have something that you want to share, it's not really a teaching or high stakes teaching per se. If you just have something on your heart and you want to share, still reach out as well. We want to cultivate just kind of like we all help each other out together. So that's just something I wanted to add.
Yes, we can all learn from each other. And even those of us teaching, we want to learn, from you. So that's part of the reason we do breakout groups and discussions in this forum, is because, so many brains are better than one. So let's help each other out in that regard. We are going to start with a hot seat question tonight. So I'm going to let Jesse pick from his list. I don't know if you want to make sure that somebody is here. Probably, huh? That's helpful.
Oh, so you want me to go first, or you want?
Yeah,
Amy to
we'll
go?
do one. Let's do one of yours first, and then we'll go into teaching, and then. Well, I'm sorry. We were going to have Amy do first. My bad. It's been a day, guys. I'm sorry.
It's been a day. Yeah.
Amy, you were going to do a marketing question first, but is our person here? Is Dawn here? Dawn DeWolf here?
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. Hi, Dawn DeWolf. I just have always loved your last name. I just want to say, so like I'm supposed to go, oh. Very cool. Okay, so Amy,
you can do that. You can do that as much as you want.
Am I allowed? Okay, good.
Yes, you can
as
do
long
it
as
as
it
much as
doesn't
you want.
step on toes or offend you. I don't want to do that.
No.
Okay, so
offended.
my bad. We're going to start with Amy and marketing and Dawn. So let's hear it. What Dawn had to ask and what Amy's answer is.
Yes. So thank you so much, Dawn, for submitting your question. And essentially it was talking about what is the best way to promote a first book. And Dawn has a first book coming out soon, which is exciting, super exciting.
Hey,
Next month,
Dawn.
right? In December. So yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I have a few tips for you and for other people who are looking into, you know, how do I promote a first book? So a couple things come to mind that have been helpful for people, are advertisements, Facebook ads, and Amazon ads specifically. Now, those can require more advanced kind of features as far as like you kind of have to know how to do it right. Otherwise, what can happen is money could get wasted pretty quickly if it's not set up a certain way. Elena J. Terry is like an expert in Facebook Facebook ads, and I'll write her name in the chat here. But she is really good. I think I spelled that right. She's really good with Facebook ads. She's presented before on those. She has a lot of workshops she does on it, and those can be helpful. However, I don't know if I recommend it as the first thing to do. It is an option. And a couple other things that you might consider is attending some local sales events, such as craft fairs that are coming up in December. There's different things. I just went to a craft fair this last weekend, and I don't know if it'd be too late to join ones, but I went to one in Lebanon and I sold 18 books that way. So it was a good way to promote the book and to get it out there. And I was only there for one day. So you don't have to go for a full weekend and spend all that time. It can be just a one-day thing, depending on which one you would go to. But look for different holiday bazaars and things like that that you could go to. And then also talking with local schools. You're writing children's books, right? Or is it children's? Yeah. So with children's books, especially, you might have really great favor with teachers or with. I've reached out to Christian schools because mine was young adult fantasy for Christian teens specifically, and so I've worked with some of the teachers before. They assigned my novel to the teens and had them actually read it as part of the curriculum in order to learn how to support a local author. So it was a neat thing for them. It gave the teacher more material. It was a great opportunity for me. So that kind of thing is also something that teachers would love to be able to work with you on that kind of thing to get the book out. And then also, similarly with that, you can ask local bookstores. They're happy to carry your book most of the time. I just went into in Albany because I live in Corvallis, so Albany has a small bookstore that I just said, "Hey, do you buy books from local authors?" And he said, "Yes. How much does it cost?" I told him the cost. He said, "Okay, I'll buy one right now." And he's been able to buy more. He knows where to go now to buy more to keep it stocked in his store, but he's continually keeping it stocked. And it's not a Christian bookstore, but it doesn't really matter when it's a local author. People are really excited to contribute in that way and support local authors. So those are kind of some things you could do locally. And honestly, that's a huge opportunity. The community around you, the people around you, to be able to help an author who's just starting. They love that. And then I think, though, that the biggest one that I wanted to mention to you is promos. So there's different promotional kind of events, or they're not really events, but they're coordinated by, I guess, they're companies that actually will. You can join which date. You can choose which date you want to join for a promotion. You sign up for that date. You pay some money. They vary between like $15 or $20 is the low end, all the way to around $100 for joining the promotions. Some are going to give more readers than others, but it's a great place when you're in a hurry to be able to have a big dynamic effect instead of I mean there's ways that you can it's good to build your newsletter list and stuff like that, but that takes time. And so for a launch you want to do things that are really going to bring a lot of attraction at once. So I want to share a link with you that is super helpful, that I found super helpful, and let's see, let me put it in here. Yes, so I just put the link in there, and it should oh, you know what? That's the wrong link.
It's a
That's
good
a
link
link.
now.
That is a link to my latest newsletter. Would you like to read it? Oh, that's funny. That is the wrong link. I don't know where it went now. I'm gonna find it and I'll paste it in the chat when I get it. But David Gaughran is, I don't remember if that's how you say his name, but he's an excellent guru when it comes to self-publishing or small publishing, getting the word out there, promotions. He knows what promotions to look for. He helps with a list of the ones that are cheap, that are free. He advocates for promoting your book for free on Amazon at first. Now, you don't always have that control because I believe, Dawn, you're a part of a small publisher, so you might not have that kind of liberty to be able to adjust your prices or have promotions that are free for a couple days like other people might. But that shouldn't be a problem all the time. If you talk with the company you're a part of and just say, hey, I'd like to promote my book for 99 cents for these days, a lot of times they'll negotiate with that. They'll want to work with you to create some kind of promo because they want your book to sell also. So that's a really great, once I get the link, it's a great resource to be able to use to find which ones you can afford and which ones seem like the best fit for your book. Not all of them are going to have promotions for children's books. A lot of them are going to be focused on specific genres, might not all be a good fit for you. However, there's lots still out there for you with that. I was able to get 1,800 downloads in a day by offering my book through promos on the first day of my release. So it bumped me up to #1 Amazon bestseller in several categories and kept me on that #1 list for a whole month afterwards, continuing to get traction that way because I started with that launch. So it does make a big difference to be able to do a bulk kind of thing all together and group them. That's what I have to share. Any questions or anything else that anybody, Jesse or Julie, you want to add to that?
Amy read my PowerPoint. Just
Oh
kidding.
no.
Just a couple points. Just giving you a hard time. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Same here with the author promos was very helpful for me too. I think I've attributed over 4,800 downloads of my book one to those types of promos, and you just can't. You really can't dismiss the power of it. The power of that much spread out and getting in those one categories for the interest, especially if you're writing a series. Amy's is a series, mine is a series. So those are all things to keep in mind. So I thought that was really great information, Amy. Thank you for
Awesome.
that.
And I just put the correct link. You're welcome to read my newsletter too, if you'd like, but I put the correct link in there. And it gives, yeah, I did that on purpose. It gives just ideas of where to go. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Very good. Very good information. Any other questions anybody has for Amy on that subject?
Or if you wanted to respond, even Dawn, if you have anything to add, or as far as you want to respond to what Amy was saying or anything, I mean, feel free to add a clarification or anything, or if not, then you're okay as well. You're good. Awesome.
Great.
You nailed it, Amy.
Glad that was helpful.
Well, we know it can seem overwhelming. So, Amy and I have both been in marketing, so we agree on a lot of things. So just take advantage of everything you can learn. So every link she sends out is a good link. So I encourage you to follow through with that. So
yeah, I have a
right.
series too, and I agree as well. Like I think that getting those promotions out early, especially for the first one, is critical. So, and because once you can kind of get that first one out, then it kind of can snowball into your. And I think Donnie, you have like not the 9 I think the books of the spirit as well. I think there's like, if you get like the first one going, like, well, you can snowball. Even if you pay a little bit for the first one, they'll just love you, and they can snowball into the other 9. So that'd be good.
All right, great. Well, let's move into book selling then, which is actually related to our marketing question that we also had. Hopefully I will be able to share my screen, because you know how that works. It's always when you're on the spot. I was like, whoa. I'm hoping you all can see it. It's green colored, and it says increasing your book sales. And if somebody could just nod, like Amy, Jesse, and Sue, I can see you. Can you nod? Okay, perfect. Yay, it worked. This is my second presentation today, so we'll see how this goes. So I wanted to talk to you about some unusual ways to increase your book sales. We do hear of common ways commonly, but as you just heard from Amy, there's ways we haven't heard yet, and there's ways that I have discovered along my journey to increase book sales. So anytime I do that, I of course want to share it with all of you, because we're a team. So I want to make sure we all, the amount of knowledge that we have in our group is just tremendous, and you times that times our many members. There's a lot we can all learn from each other. So this is increasing your book sales. And my clicker may not work. There we go. Now look at that. It's winter. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. I know many of us are cold. But the point being is that when we do get together, whether it's by train or plane or automobile, right? I want to encourage you in your faith, but I also want to be encouraged by yours. We give that to each other as team members, and that literally says that in Romans 1:12, because God knew that we would not be islands upon ourselves and be successful, that we would need other people on our islands to encourage us, to help us, to keep us accountable, right? To critique us, which is fun, as we know. But he knew that teams would be needed, and that's the very definition of community he intended for us. So this is a little bit of a review, because I've talked about this before, and there's probably recordings available on these if you want more knowledge on these. But to get to where we're going today, you still need to have that excellent writing and the great editing. You still need to have a great, excellent cover, and it's worth the investment to hire a professional to do that, unless you are a professional. There's nothing like a homemade book. People will not tend to buy a book that looks homemade. So I've seen some great books with horrible covers, and I've never read them. And then the author gives it to me. I'm like, okay, as a courtesy, I'll read it. And I'm like, oh, this is a great book. The cover does not do it justice, is what it comes down to. So your cover presents your work as a professional that you are. And it's that important. And it makes that much difference whether people pick up your book or not, as well as your back copy.
People judge a book by the cover?
Oh, yes, we do. People judge a book
That's
by
true.
its cover. Initially, yeah, for initial impressions, we absolutely do. So that's very important. And then I've also taught on the importance of keywords in the Amazon categories. I know not all of you have control over that, depending on your publisher that you're with. Plus, Amazon keeps getting onto us, and they change categories. So recently they've made some big category changes, but they're still important to research and to know your market. I use Publisher Rocket for that, but there's other tools out there as well. So that's kind of a review of what I've shared before, because I'd like to move into some more, unusual things. So here's the norm. The norm that we learn is we sell books in bookstores. We sell books on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And, if we go to writers' conferences, we have amazing bookstores. I don't know if you guys know how many books are actually sold at our bookstores. I don't want to put Sue on the spot, but I know that we sell a lot of books in the bookstore. And it not only helps support, Cascade Christian Writers, but it helps support you as an author. It gets your name out there. And so that's an important venue. Those are all under the norm categories, as well as speaking, as we talked about before, your newsletter list, which is essential, your reader magnet. And just as a reminder for those who don't know, your reader magnet is a freebie, and it's intended for the purpose of getting people on your email list. And here's the thing is that we're not always competing for people's money in this world. We are competing for their time. And people love freebies. And so, especially social media loves freebies. They love freebies. And so your reader magnet is a short story that you put out. It's maybe I just read that Dawn Shipman is doing a prequel on her series, on her triplicate series, which I loved her series. And I don't know if she's using it as a reader magnet or not, but it's a way to get them in the door on your newsletter and give them a freebie in return. And those will become your loyal customers. So it's very important to build your newsletter list. So that is a reader magnet, is
All
what
right,
we
add to
call
that,
it.
Julie.
You may.
Yeah, and it also what's really good about that too is that it can also define your audience too, because so I co-author with with somebody, and we have the same thing with a prequel, and our book's a bit more edgy and a bit more raw. And so our reader magnet is actually very edgy and very raw, because we don't want people who don't like that to buy it on Amazon and be duped. And so we try to actually discourage people. We have about 5,000, 6,000 people who download that book, and if they read that one, they're going to go on and buy the next book. But if they don't like that one, they're not going to like the next one. And so it's also really good to kind of create your brand, and kind of give people a little bit of a taste of who you are beforehand.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, I write currently, I don't know, God might be calling me to other areas, y'all, but right now I write suspense, although I have a nonfiction going in the background. And it's about human trafficking. And so the reader magnets that I have out there are short stories about gals who were trafficked and saved. There's always angels and things like that in my books, and always hope, always healing. But Jesse's absolutely right. I mean, if they pick up my reader magnet and they don't like it, then that's okay, because that's not my audience, right? They'll go on elsewhere and they'll buy romance and they'll buy fantasy. It's not my market. But so it is a good way of kind of honing that in, as well for that. And so if you didn't get that tip, your reader magnet should definitely be along the same, same genre, same type of storylines that you're writing on for your books currently. We've heard of author swaps, etc. That's a little bit about what Amy was talking about, like promotions on certain people's lists. You can swap with other authors. I've done that with several. Melanie Campbell is which she's a former member at this point, but she had written fiction books on domestic violence. So, and she loves mine. So every time I write one, she does a huge article in her newsletter on mine, and I trade back and give her, and that's a swap that we do because we both believe in the cause and we want to get the word out to other people. So finding like-minded authors that are writing similar things can be very valuable, very important on that. Family and friends, of course. And then, as Amy mentioned, your launch team, which have also been called street teams in the past, which is kind of a catchy term. And if you don't think of street gangs, I guess if you're from my from my era, launch team is a street team, same thing, somebody to get your book up and going. So those are kind of the normal things that we see. Today, I'm going to talk to you about some of the abnormal or non-normal, because abnormal just sounds so bad, but different ways that you may not have thought of selling your book. So we are going to do a breakout room, and I'm sorry that not all the author names showed up with this template, but these are all members here, Barb and Jane, and Danica Cooley and Karen Barnett as well, who have books. But we're going to do a breakout room really quick for 7 minutes or so, and really have a discussion on what are some other ways, other than what we already listed, that you have seen books sell. And we want to hear your ideas, okay? So when you come back into the main room, maybe have somebody designated in your group that will share what you all talked about. So Jesse, are you able to throw us into breakout rooms?
Yeah, and as always, we honor people who have their cameras off. So I do see 4 people have their cameras off, and I am putting you in a room, but don't feel the need to jump back on. You can there's at least 3 people in each room. We actually let me go ahead and move, so we have 4 people in each room. So
And then do we also pause the recording at this point?
Mm.
Remind me, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
but I
pause
don't
the
seem to have
recording.
control on that because y'all are sharing my screen. If I gotta
No,
stop.
I can pause it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Can I pause?
See, I need all these techie people on my team, y'all.
I don't know if I can pause it actually. Recording.
Well, right now I'm sharing my screen, so I think I have to unshare for us to have control,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, I don't think I
Okay.
can pause it.
Yeah, I think that Julie's the only one who can pause it at this point.
Yeah, because she's the one recording.
You,
So
you're the
yeah,
one who
so
did
if you
it.
have your
Yeah.
screen off, then it's okay. Keep it off. You're okay. You don't need to come back on. There's at least 4 per room. Just go ahead and enjoy. So what are they talking about, Julie?
And pause the recording, and then we'll go into breakout rooms and talk about unusual ways you've seen books sell. And when we gather back together, we want to hear your great ideas.
Perfect. Coming back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I think it was a little early, but it wasn't until I pushed the, take us back that then it said we had a countdown. So sorry about that, guys. Interrupt conversations going on. Get everybody going back here. I'll talk about some of our results. Mary Hake, you were mentioned in our group in a very good way. So I look forward to sharing some of that, and had some other good things as well. Great.
Mary Hake was talked about good in our group too.
Oh, wow.
She was in our group.
Amazing.
She was in our group.
Wow.
So
Well,
That's awesome. So she was talked about in 2 groups. Okay, perfect. So, okay, some ideas. So did we end up with 3 groups, Jesse? Was that what we ended up?
three groups total, and we put
Okay. So I think I was in group 1. I don't remember what I joined, but
you were in group 1,
um,
Amy was in group 2, I was in group 3. So
perfect. You did that very well. Thank you very much. Don Shipman brought up a great idea that I had heard about, but I've not tried, and that is Booksprout. And Booksprout is you pay a certain monthly amount, and people have opportunity to pick up your books, I assume for free or whatever, and then they leave
Yeah.
reviews for you. Okay. And
Yeah.
if they really like your book, you can generate some good sales from those Booksprouts. And we were on another topic as well as reviews, keeping in mind that, there's blog reviewers out. There's people that have full blogs, and that's all, or they're on TikTok or whatever, but that's all they do is review other people's books. And this is where Mary's example came in, because Mary is very good at, when she likes an author, she posts about the book and the cover, and makes a graphic for it. And as a result, we had one member say that she has checked out Mary's writing because Mary has posted so many, reviews of other people's books. So it's a classic, but it's still working. So that was one way we came up with. And another one was Amazon ads. Sounds like Don Shipman is working on that
Yeah.
and doing well with those. We all noted that Mrs. Shipman is selling a lot of books with her Cascade family. I mean, I literally have logged on to Facebook, and every time I log on, somebody's holding up her 3rd book going, yay, her 3rd book's done. And then I know I was like, when her 3rd book was done, I'm like, well, when is it here? When is it here? And it was, it's really good. And so, don't discount the fact, right, that you've got networking going right
Yeah.
here and now, and
Right.
social media for selling books as well. So we did talk a little bit about book signings and like bazaars. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in my teaching. So we will avoid that. So who else had some good insights and some good ideas in your groups that you will share?
I don't want to. I mean, you guys. I don't want to piggyback on you guys, but you guys can think too. But I want to piggyback on the Dawn. The thing you're talking about, like networking is huge. And when I first came to OCW or CCW, I don't know if it was Jim or somebody else, but it's always like, don't seek contracts, seek contacts. So it's like you go to conferences, always find the people and so it really relieved the stress, and so you just meet people and you connect and but obviously I'm sorry I have not read your book, Dawn, but I'm sure that it's actually good as well. Like you have to be you have to find you have to find the contacts for sure, but you also have to have a good, once you have you have the kind of trifecta of the people, and then you have the skill, and it's come together for you. So yeah.
Good. Any other ideas from your room, Jesse, or anybody in Jesse's room, or my room for that matter, that you want to mention?
Yeah, Mary and Clint, you have some good stuff.
All right, y'all. Clint, Mary.
Really work at getting into these bazaars and holiday things that are going on.
Okay, so and you sell books at them, it sounds like. Let me ask you this, Clint, do you try to do a table all by yourself with just your books, or do you try to link up with other people and other authors for those?
Yeah, I haven't done it with anybody else
Okay,
yet.
and yet you still sell them. How many books do you have to your name?
Just one.
Okay,
It's
all
brand
right,
new,
very
so.
good. Great. And Mary, you got called out. Do you have something you want to add? Mary.
Mary Haig is muted.
She's muted
Yeah,
and
she is.
off, but yeah,
Mary, if you're
she's
trying to
working
talk, you're
on.
muted.
Hey,
Oh, there
I
she is.
clicked on the wrong thing, sorry.
That's okay. No worries. Did you have some ideas for selling books?
Well, one thing I didn't share in our group that I did think about is applying for awards, because if you final or win an award, and like I have 2 Mom's Choice Awards now, so that goes in their catalog, that's international, so it can get you,
Yeah.
you know, more exposure and possibly more sales. So,
Excellent.
and
Yep.
and then participating in groups online is another thing I found helpful. Like I took a picture book class with a bunch of ladies, you know, and we've now are publishing books and buying and promoting each other's books too. So it gets the word out
Cool.
in a wider way.
That's awesome. Very good. Yes, and we'll talk more about that, your first one that you brought up as well. I think Janet's cat might have something to share. Meow. A beautiful kitty.
It's wrecking
So
my
big.
furniture.
So big.
So
Yeah.
I discovered on Author Media Social, I discovered this new program just developing. They're in beta phase. It's called Reviews, but it's spelled REJVUS. And I put it in the chat.
Thank
And
you.
how
Okay.
it works is you upload your book into their site, and then they decide whether they'll take it. I mean, they're being they're careful about whose books they take. But then what you do is you're reading other authors' books and you're reviewing them online. So it doesn't cost anything for me at this point because they're in the beta phase. And then when they get up, I think they're going to get like 300 books before they start sharing. And I don't exactly know where they're at. I think they have like 200 right now. So
Cool.
yeah, it's a good way of getting reviews and stars. I hope it works.
Janet, I
Yeah.
don't see that in
Yeah,
the
could you
chat.
add
Yeah.
that? Could
I
you
thought
add
I
that
did
again,
it.
Janet? You
You
might have
did
added it.
add it, Janet. I am a little
Yeah.
confused about it because you wrote it down in the comment here, but I tried to look for it, and
Oh,
when I Google it, all I come up with is Red Bus, which is not right.
Good bus.
Oh. oh, weird.
Okay.
Let me go back and find the link and
That would be helpful. Thank
Okay.
you.
And also, I had a question about how you upload your books and they like have your book. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like they like, you know, it might. I don't know, just giving it away like to people that you don't know who is going to read it.
It did make me a little nervous. I actually asked them about that. And
What made you nervous about that? I'm curious.
I don't know. It just, like she was saying, just having someone that I don't know and have access to the
EPUB.
it was an EPUB. I gave them an EPUB copy and a PDF, which I don't know why they needed both, but they can't. I mean, they can't. It's copyrighted. I've already published it,
Right.
so
Yeah,
I'm
you
sure
probably
it's safe
could, yeah.
enough. But
Some people cannot use EPUB. That's why they probably wanted the PDF, because on
Oh,
book covers you have to do both also.
Mhm.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah. Let me get the link and then I'll hook you guys up with it.
Well, I mean, if I could speak to that really briefly, other than
Yeah.
like them, you know, obviously stealing your IP. I mean, that may be something, but like generally, I don't know if you guys are the same, but I have this idea of like, well, like if they steal the book or read the book without paying for it, and it's like, well, they at least it's just the first one, they know me. Like, yeah, for those of us who only have one book, it's a big deal for sure.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. But if you know, you have multiple books, it's like, well, you get the first one and you experience who I am, and
Yeah.
if you want more, you'll pay for more. And I have no problem with people still reading the book for free, at least the first one. But
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I use bookfunnel.com,
Yeah,
but
same.
it allows me to control it. So I have it uploads it in all the formats, EPUB, Mobi, whatever people Kindle readers do. But then I can gift it. And so then I can independently contact reviewers, or they can contact me, or just somebody who comes out and says, "Hey, I'd love to trade books and I'll review yours," and I can actually gift them that copy. And you do that for marketing purposes, for, with the idea that, again, your work is already copyrighted, you've already written it, you've already sent it to the copyright office, so it's fairly protected, in that. But those can
Okay.
work. Yeah,
good.
but thanks, Janet, for that. If you could look up that site and throw it in there, that would be very helpful.
I will do it.
Excellent. All right, other insights. How about room 3? Amy, your room?
Well, Janet was the one who gave that information. So yes, thank you, Janet, for that.
All right. Any others then before I go back to Sharon's screen? Good ideas, you guys. See, I love brainstorming with everybody. It's just,
Really good.
it's really awesome. Okay. Can you see all the books again? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Oh,
Yes.
I just got a message. Participants can now see your application. Okay. All right. Next slide. So now
Julie,
we will...
did you remember
Yep.
to press record again?
I
Yep.
did.
Okay, awesome.
I
Just
did.
making sure.
What
Okay.
do you know? I remembered. Yes.
Yay.
See,
All right.
see why I
Sorry to
need a team.
interrupt.
It's okay. I need a team. Y'all know I need a team. That's for sure. All right. So, and then we had this was our share section. I had a little sheet there, and just a verse that just reminded me of it well, that I had found in my Bible study I was doing. And it just says, "Then I will give you shepherds after my own heart, after my own heart." What an incredible thing, right? Who will lead you with knowledge and with understanding. And we can all do that for each other. And I love that part. I love that part about Christian organizations and conferences, that we do that for each other. So we are going to talk about, go ahead. Somebody had a question? Nope. Okay. So now we're going to think outside the norm. And some of these ideas have already been mentioned, but these are ones that have worked for me. So I want to share with you. And again, why is really competition. And as I mentioned before, it's not so much a competition of money these days. There's some of that, but it's more a competition of time. How many books do you have on your shelf, right, that you want to read or that are on your list to read? I know you have them. I have them too. And I'm like, do I read a book for work that has this topic, or do I read, do I delve into Dawn's fantasy, which is going to take me out of the world and just think, just downtime. And so we're really competing for people's time. So think of it that way. So here are some things out of the norm that I have used and used well. And, you're going to have a mixed audience on the bazaars and holiday fairs, but we already was Clint that mentioned they've been successful for him. For me, they've always been most successful with other authors. You want to think about it as hitching your wagon to the wagon they already have, right? So if I find other authors, especially, and sometimes the opposite of my genre, so not always suspense, maybe it's romance, maybe it's children's books, who have more of a following than me, and or the same following, and who can help get the word out, it is more successful than trying to go do a table on my own. Now I'm getting more books, so that helps a little bit, but I still don't want to do it on my own. It's boring. Literally, right? You can talk to 4 or 5 people, and then you have 2 hours where you're just like, ho hum, I should have brought a book to read. And they ebb and they flow. So it also helps with that, because I network with other people. And then across the way, I wrote events that draw your audience, right? You're not going to want to take, Halloween as an example, a harvest party at the church that draws kids and parents, and try to sell a book that's not going to, be attractive to either children or parents. So think about your audience when you're scheduling these, and be prepared to network. You guys, I don't sit on my table. I do somewhat when I need to, and when there's people there. I always keep an eye on my table, but I go visit other tables, because you know what? The majority of my contacts come from going to other tables and saying, "Hey, here's my card. Here's what I do. What do you do?" And being interested in what they're doing, and whether they are crocheting pot holders or whether they are making bead necklaces. I always find a way to compliment, what they're doing. You're doing amazing crafting work. I don't do this stuff. It's beautiful. And then they're like, "Well, what do you do?" And then before you know it, you've got somebody who will come over at the end of the day and buy your book and they want your autograph, or at least say, you know what, my nephew, my niece, my cousin, my mother, my dad, whomever would really enjoy your book. I'm going to buy it for them for Christmas. And so go visit. Don't be afraid. Don't hide behind your table. Try to be an extrovert, even if you aren't, and go visit. Number 2 was book signings. And I know we kind of brought that up for some people. And Dawn brought that up in my group, that she's had some book signings that don't work so well, that maybe you don't sell many books. And there are some, there really are. And so I would say with any tactic that you're looking at as far as selling your books, is to try it out first. Try it out. Maybe it doesn't work for your genre, you know. There was a bunch of us authors who went up to one in McMinnville this last year that I had hopes for, but it was a new person that took over from somebody else who had already had it established. There wasn't, I guess, as much advertising. It wasn't as great, but you know, the connections and the fellowship were awesome. And we got to connect with each other. I got to see one of my author friends from the coast and go out to lunch. So, you know, that made it worth it for me. But it was more table connection and less people, although I did sell some books. So again, with book signings, you always want to link with other authors that maybe that are a little more well-known with you. So hitch your wagon, and then eventually you're going to have people hitching your wagon to you and to your platform as a benefit. You want to give yourself time to advertise in your newsletter and other people's newsletters for book signings and for events. You want to post them on social media. You want to get to know the owners in the venue and connect. Be professional. Ask to come back. It was a good experience. I once did a book signing in Newburgh, and it wasn't a great book signing. It was an outdoor event, and it ended up raining, of course. So not many people came. But the owners of the coffee shop liked my book, and I talked to them, I connected with them, and through them came 2 or 3 other opportunities that they were like, oh, well, why don't you look at this one, or we'll recommend you for this one. And one thing led to another. So there's an example of that for book signings. So that is an idea. Libraries, and more than one library, not just your local library. You've heard me probably talk about before that if you write fiction, you need to connect with a cause. If you write nonfiction, you are probably already connected with a cause, with whatever your book was about. But for me, that's been, human trafficking and domestic violence. So I have several organizations that I connect with, and I hitch my wagon to them when they have it. And I went to over in Column 3, you'll see JG, and that's because Judy Gann came to our conference for let's see, where was she at? Oh, it was at the Southwest Writers Conference, which I also taught at. But she taught a class on the importance of getting your books into libraries. And I was like, because I had thought about it in the beginning, and then I kind of just pushed it out. And what I didn't realize, and what she had taught us, and she's also a member here of CCW, is that it's not so much the general public you're looking for at libraries. The book buyers go to libraries to find books, and you might have a hard time. So here's an example. I did take my first book down to my library in town, and then 2 over, and 2 out of 3 times, one of them was like, oh, this is cool. Sure, we'll put your book on the shelf. But the other 2, you could tell, had very practiced lines of, well, we look at every book, we don't make any guarantees. It could end up in the Friends of Library sale instead of on the shelf. And you could tell they had just been trained to see that. But what I had learned from Judy was that if you hold some kind of an event at that library, like if you go and you speak, or maybe if you write children's books, you go and you maybe do a reading for kiddos, they are then going to have to carry your book because people are going to want your book. And so an opportunity came up. So for mine, where October is Domestic Abuse Violence Month. It's Domestic Violence Abuse Month. Sorry, other way around. Anyway, it's a month where we try to educate people on domestic violence. And as part of one of the organizations I linked with, had received a call from the Forest Grove Library, which is where I'm at, that they wanted our display of survivor artwork during the month of October for DVAM month. Well, that includes my books, because I'm an artist and I'm a survivor. So they called me immediately and said, do you want to do this? I'm like, absolutely. And so I went down and I helped hang up people's poems and paintings, which were just amazingly beautiful, on racks. And then my books got to sit there on display for the entire month of October at the Forest Grove Library. Well, they're carrying the book now because
Mhm.
people would see the book and they would be like, I want to check that one out. And they're like, well, that's not checkable. I guess we better order some books. So part of our thinking for next year for DVAM, of course, is to hit some of these outside libraries, still in my county, Washington County, to see if they can somehow be displayed. But again, you have to link yourself with a cause, right, in order to do that. Now, my cause gets proceeds from my books, not a huge amount, but I do pay them proceeds because that way I can see it say in advertising, people know I care about this cause. So, and when they see some proceeds of this book go to support the Family Justice Center and also ARMS where I work, then they're more likely, to purchase, and it's a partnership is what it comes down to on that. Jesse,
If
yes.
I add to that, I agree with that. Like, I mean, we donate 10% of our book sales to Exodus Cry, which is human trafficking as well, actually. And I think that's very important to yeah, like you're an author, and that you have a platform, whether you write one book or many, you have a platform and you are changing the world in some capacity. So like, I encourage you, like, as a, like, why not, like what is the cause? Like, what do you want to, even if it's just entertainment, it's like, what do you want to add to the world, and how do you want to change the world for a better thing? And so I say, yeah, like, find that cause that you want to change the world with, and really, like, latch to it. It's like you are adding to the story of something, whether it's violence, whether it is just, I mean, any number of adventure, or any number of, like, literacy. Like, what is the cause that you want to jump on, and like, how can you support that cause? And it's just like you're adding to that story. So anyway, I think it's very good. No, and that's, I was going to say, go back to the previous month, even that on my recording of the how to write an introduction. It's like asking those questions. What is the lie that the world believes, and that what is the truth that you're offering that, and that could actually help you with that cause that you're actually wanting to add to the world.
And note that thank you, Jesse. Note that I've even seen some very small. So here's an example: a fiction book that has some trauma and stuff, and has a divorce of a major couple.
Mm-hmm.
That person, because they talked about the recovery process of this divorce and the grief of that, was then able to connect with organizations like Divorce Care in our local churches. And so know that your book doesn't have to be all about that subject. There can just be something within that book, even if it seems small to you. Maybe it's about the foster care system. I have another friend who, she writes great books, but her kids all come from the foster system. But that's not the focus. It's about their lives and, where they go and the amazing things they do. But it's a natural fit for the foster system because you're talking about kids that are aging out from the foster system. So think smaller, don't think big. I don't want to discourage you, because my books are about human trafficking and domestic violence, and that's big, but there are things within your stories, whether they are trauma or challenges, or losing children or grief, right, or losing a partner, or any of those things that could be used in that regard to link up with an organization.
Julie,
So don't be just about that. Go ahead.
that made me think of something I've heard in another teaching one time, that to look for connections not only for topics but for any holidays or events. Like, I don't know if they still do in Redmond, but they had like every year that classes in the local schools and at the library teaching fourth graders how to write a picture book. And I taught there one year, and if there's like one of our members that had a book for children of how to write for kids, you could take it and promote other people there,
yeah.
that like other people's books. And the same for like to get on podcasts or interviewed on the radio or on TV. If you can find some connection, with a historical event, a world event, or any holiday or cooking or whatever connections, a lot of times even in novels, you can find cooking and they'll link on that. You just need to get the word out that you have that connection.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I think Mary's the one too that put homeschooling in chat. And I
Yeah.
know that, Amy, other people have been involved in our organizations in homeschooling. Keep that in mind that homeschoolers sometimes need outside activities, right? And that's something that you can link to. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's as simple as maybe your main character is a musician who have finally found their muse, after 40 years of life or whatever. What an inspiring story for people who think they might want to be a musician, or have talent in that area. And so it can be really, really simple. So I would encourage you, if you can't think of yours or a variety of yours, because really, as Mary mentioned, there's really actually more than one, choice in your book, more than likely of what you can use for that, to contact Jesse or Amy or I, and we can kind of help you field that out a little bit. So another question, I heard some background there. No? Okay. So number 4 has also been mentioned, but it's been valuable to me, and that is awards. You do have to have some budget it's needed for awards. And I did have to research because there's awards that come up all over the place, right? But there's some awards very specific to my topic that were really important. And other ones that were not. But you want to enter the well-known ones. You want to research those. You need to have, there'll probably be an entry fee for the majority of them. So it's something to keep in mind. But when you win these awards, and that includes the Cascade Award, that we have every year, you use those badges to promote your work. You put them on your website, you put them in your newsletter, you put them on the cover of your next book. When you reprint again, you have your publisher put the gold badge that says, Cascade Award winner or whatever. We have had Cascade Award winners that, I think we were going to put that in a newsletter. One of them entertained a movie deal. Mocha, shush. One of them entertained a movie deal because, of her direct involvement as a Cascade Award winner. And it's nothing to shy away from, and the more the better. You can also put them in your book description. So you can ask your publisher, if it's your publisher or if you self-publish. When you put your book on Amazon, you've got area there. You've got way to put your badges. You've got to say, now Amazon does require some verification of that, which is a good thing. But I was able to put on Innocent Lives, Book Fest Award winner 2022, and there were 2 other ones I listed. One was a human trafficking award. But those have all increased my sales because what they do is they increase, I don't know why, but they increase the trust in your product from your people. If it's award winning, I want to read it, right? And that's what it does. So awards have worked very well for me, and it sounds like they're working well for Mary as well too. That should be part of your marketing plan, is to be implementing, putting your book in for awards, published or unpublished, because that will help you in the long run. All right, here's some other weird things, just to make you laugh. Have you sold books in any of these places? Because I have. Facebook Marketplace. I know that sounds crazy. It doesn't sound crazy, but you know what? Guess what? You put it out around the holidays in particular, that you're a local author and you've got this book deal going on, and they can get it for, $8.99 instead of $12.99 or whatever. Or you'll ship it for free, or they can just pick it up from your porch. And people are like, oh, that's pretty cool. Local author. And my kid would be interested in this subject, and it would be signed by the author. And I just need to go pick it up off the porch. Note that in the Facebook Marketplace, the majority of people do seem to look for what I call garage sale prices. Okay. But don't discount your book to 99 cents, if it's costing you $2.50 or $3.50 or whatever to actually make, or your publisher that. Be careful with that, but do know they kind of have that mentality. It's deals, right? It's deals and deals for Marketplace. The second one I put is, the neighbor apps, and the main one that I've seen success with, and that I've seen, let me check our time here, is the Nextdoor app. The Nextdoor app, some people hesitate to use it because you have to actually enter your address, because what it's trying to do is connect you with people in your area. But when you publish a book, you're a neighbor, and they're excited about that. And I literally posted one that wasn't getting much And then all of a sudden there were 3 or 4 people on there going, we're bumping this up. Why is this not getting attention? This is a good book. This is from your neighbor. And then boom, 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 it went from there. And that's all it took. And they are a little higher price. So you won't, if you sell on Nextdoor app, you'll probably get a higher price for your book than on Marketplace, just to keep that in mind. And of course, these are physical copies that you would keep yourself. I would just encourage you to put them as signed copies and keep them in your home.
Julie, when you did that, did you have to do it in the sales section? Because our Nextdoor is highly moderated and you cannot just say, like when I just said, oh, I published a new book and then it got removed because people don't want any selling in the regular local news part in ours.
Yep, they have changed that in the last probably 8 months, probably 12 months, that they do want you to pay a little fee of your sales, of course, and to do it as a professional page is what they'll have you do. It is still paid off for me. When it mostly pays off, when you don't have to pay for it, is when people are on there asking for gift options, right? Then you can get on there, or have your neighbor get on there. Oh, check out this book. But yeah, more and more, markets online are seeing the ability to say, hey, if they're selling on our, then we deserve a cut of that. And that makes sense, right? So I didn't argue too much about that, but yeah, be careful with that. You don't want to break the rules. Check the rules of any, venue that you use, for sure on that. I know I've mentioned TikTok and Book Talk. Book Talk is a hashtag. TikTok has been responsible for over probably 2,000 downloads of my books currently, with videos and with tips and with, what they love is behind the scenes, things that aren't in the book, but they already like the characters. So, they like a certain character. It's like, let me give a tidbit about this character that wasn't even in the book. And they just like soak that up because they love the characters, in the book. And I know in some Christian circles, TikTok is looked on upon bad. In fact, my very own pastor, I had to go have a talk with him because a couple months ago, he's like, do not get on TikTok. And I had to go tell him, what, there is Christian TikTok. And there are some very good things. Now, you have to be very careful. There's also things that we see on all Christian platforms, like overboard and people who are, feel they're prophetic, and, you get online and they read things and, you skip those, obviously, if that makes you uncomfortable. But, a lot of our faith artists and authors and our praise singers will put, portions of songs on there. With social media, guys, it looks up what you want to look up. The algorithms are made to do that. So when I log on to TikTok, I get puppy dogs, I get children dancing, and I get Christian TikTok, because those are the things that I look at and I laugh at and I enjoy. Yes, if you're going to look at inappropriate material, it will bring up inappropriate material. But for Book Talk, it's a huge point. And you will also connect both on Instagram and Book Talk with a lot of people who will offer to review your book. And those are pick and choose. Some are going to ask for payment, some won't. I would say if you're going to pay and give it a try, look at the results from other reviews and things that they have posted, and be wary. Be very wary. Somebody who says, I'm going to put your book out on 500, review sites, and it's going to be, A+ positive, but they've never read your book. You be wary. Be wary of those things. But some of those can really pay off, and then also end up on blogs, especially mom blogs. Mom blogs are highly influential, and a lot of them do book reviews of all genres and have been known as an authority. I mean, even major magazines, guys, like Women's World, Christianity Today, Just Between Us. Let's see, there was another one I saw the other day, will research mom blogs for material and for books so that they should present. And so it's worth your time to research and look at that and get those listed on those. And let me keep going because we are at 7:12 already. Business clubs, alliances, this is the networking that Jesse was talking about. The nonprofit that you've attached to, any chance you get, right? The nonprofit I attached to is building a brand new building, one city over. We're changing branding. We're changing things, but every art show they've had, they invite me, every chance I get, I help set up, police departments come, they know me, they see my book, they buy my book, to get the word out, connect is the key. And then number 5 was the in-person bookstores. So independent and usually consignment. And what that means is oftentimes they won't necessarily just take your book, but you can offer it on consignment. And you can say, can I leave you with 3 copies? And if they sell, you give me this much back. And you risk sometimes some wear and tear on your book. But a lot of times they'll even put those books like on their counter on a display because it's a local author. Get those local author stickers. They will connect you with that. And speaking of that, there is bookshop.org. And I think, hopefully I added it here. I did. So bookshop.org, it actually supports independent bookstores. So you can sign up, you can do 2 things. You can sign up as an affiliate. And when your book sell or anything sells that you, that people go first to see you and then buy another book, you can get 10% of that. But they also donate 10% to independent bookstores. That's their main mission, is to keep independent stores going. And so a lot of independent stores have put aside the buyers and all of that and use bookshop.org and reviews to buy their inventory. So get signed up with them. I found a very good publicity article by Smith Publicity, and it has 110 book marketing ideas to sell your book. I would recommend that. Feel free to take a screenshot, or I can send it to you later because it's a long URL. But there was a lot of helpful things that, and some I have tried, but many I have not. So I'm going to try. But just a heads up, personal referral is I have not tried all those 110 ideas, just to let you know on that. Consider your market when looking at online channels, social media, etc. Again, who is your market? Is it juveniles? We have cases of, I'm sorry, Dawn, to bring you up again, but Dawn Shipman, who writes this incredible fantasy, but has discovered that even though it's for the juvenile market, that it's mostly adults reading your book. And it's because it's good stuff. It's a good book, right? And so your market may be changing. It may not be the market that you actually wrote that book for. I found the same with my series. People classified it as juvenile, but due to topic, it's not. And it's mostly adults, that read my books. So be wary of those changes and look at those. Always carry a copy or 2. I'm always reminded of the chicken soup people, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember that story? Nobody would publish a chicken soup books. They tried and tried and tried. So what did they do? They self-published them. They loaded them in the trunk of their car and literally took off across the country and sold them individually to bookstores. And now they are a multi-million-dollar company because people paid attention. They were like, whoa, these books are selling. We've got to get them on board. So it's always my encouraging story as far as carrying your own books. You meet people, guys. You'll meet them in an airport, train station, wherever. And they'll be like, what? You're an author? And you'll be like, yeah, this is the book. Oh, can I buy that? Yes, you could buy that. And so never, discount that one-on-one interpersonal communication, which is very important. So I think that's all I had. We have about 10 minutes, and I know that we were going to do potentially a hot seat with Jesse. Is there any questions really quick on what I just talked about? There's so much more, but it's a start, right?
This isn't a question, but just a comment or something
Comments
cool
are
that
good.
happened. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I go do a lot of my writing at one of the local Starbucks, and because it's peaceful there and I don't have to clean my house. But anyway, but I got talking to one of the baristas that I've just gotten to know. Well, she's about my age and she still works at Starbucks and she likes it. So, and I just said to her, I just kind of talk, and I said, I don't know if you know this, but I just finished up this book. I've written several books now, and I've done them here, and it's just really fun to come here. And she's like, what? You write books? And she goes, are they on Amazon? And she flipped out her phone and looked it up right then and ordered both my books that were out at that time. Yeah. And so when I go and see her, I go in there again. She goes, is that 3rd book out yet? So sometimes you have to, I usually carry the copies, but also just be willing to mention to people, because people are, we look in the mirror and we say, well, there's nothing too exciting there. But to other people, they say, man, they write books. That's really cool. So anyway, just kind of a fun thing that happened.
Thank you, Dawn. Yeah, so important. I sold books in the oddest of places, even at church. So it's like, oh, and speaking of that, I am in Forest Grove, you guys. If there's anybody interested in, we do have a holiday bazaar coming up that supports our Christian school that goes with our church on December 2nd. I would love to share a table with somebody. So if anybody's interested and close enough in doing that, I'd be happy to chat with you and Doesn't have to be suspense. It probably shouldn't be, so we can hit more people, but FYI. All right. So do we want to do the hot seat real quick, Jesse, from what you
Well,
were?
we have more questions. I mean,
Oh,
for
sorry.
sure.
I
Did I
just
miss some?
thought of one other thing that I have done, like I've taken my picture books like to my chiropractor or doctor's office and asked if they would
Yep.
like to have them available, and like the chiropractor bought some and stood up on the counter so people could see them when they come in, and
Oh,
so
that's great.
like one of my patients wrote this, so you never know what, who might help promote it.
Yep. Local connections, so important. Very good. Yep. Anybody else? Comment, question?
Thoughts, questions, comments? Yeah.
No? Okay.
Mhm.
Hope it was helpful a little bit to you all. And we know it's complicated. Don't get discouraged. We've learned these things just by trying them, right? One after another, and then by sharing all together, which is an encouragement to me. So, all right. So we got a few minutes, and then we're going to do an Amazon drawing as well. But Jesse, I think you had a hot seat question to
Well, I
answer
mean,
from
we only
Don.
have about 5 minutes or so, but I mean, we have that one question. I know that I don't want to put you on the spot here, John, but you submitted a question. We weren't quite sure the question about the you mentioned something about factual and historical part. Would you be
We
open to
did talk,
clarifying about? Yeah.
Jesse, John and I did talk in our
Okay.
group that we had,
Okay,
and
cool.
he brought it up a little bit. I mean, John, maybe you
Okay.
want to add more, and that's fine.
Yeah,
But I
it's up to
did
you.
mention a source for him that might be helpful. So,
Yeah,
but
thank you. Okay.
John, you're welcome to add more if I didn't answer your question completely in our group.
Well, I just go online and type in my question. For instance, well, I'm trying to be historical. So, what's the weather in the Black Sea like year round? And so I use that materials to talk about the disciples who went into the Black Sea to spread the gospel.
Okay.
And that's all the information I can find. But
Okay.
it's a source, and it's enough. Probably since it's a historical fiction, most people aren't going to worry much about whether it exactly is historical as it is the fiction part.
Does anybody have any thoughts on that as far as like
Well,
anybody
yeah, I can find a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
For instance, I had Peter walking across Asia Minor out of Cappadocia, and they followed the Kitts River, and he asked about what was kind of fish that was catching in the Kitts River. And so Amazon, the encyclopedia, but the Britannica gives some information about that. So I stick it in the book.
Okay.
Yeah. And AI, artificial intelligence, I know it has ups and downs, but my next class is going to be on AI, guys, because I know there's a lot of concerns about it, but it can also be very, very helpful in your research. And so we're going to put that on the list, and that might be helpful to you as well, John.
I hadn't thought about that one.
Yeah. I know who wants to. I get it.
It's a
I get
tool.
it.
Anything else? It's a tool. Yeah.
It is a tool. Okay. So do we want to do a drawing in prayer, or do you want to tackle another one, Jesse? Okay.
No, that works. I mean, we don't have a lot of time to do a whole like life theme thing, but
Sure.
but
Okay.
yeah.
We talked a lot. It never fails that and note that Janet put in chat the link for the reviews. So it's revjus.com. Thank you, Janet. I appreciate that. It's funny because anytime I get on and I'm like, man, I don't have a lot of class things to cover, that God fills in the time.
Oh, well, I think
And-
it's perfect,
and
Julie.
it worked out, and it worked out. God works it out. He does. And I appreciate everybody's wisdom, everybody's thoughts. I wish we could put this all together in a big book, right? To help all of us. That might be an idea to think about. So thank you, Linda. I got your message.
I will say also thank you guys for jumping in. Thank you for everyone, because like
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. Like, you want to extend the teaching out. It's not really just you always get these webinars, everyone teaches lectures to you, but it's really great that we actually are a community, and that you guys are reaching out, and you're cutting us off, and you're asking questions, and this is exactly what we want for this. Just jump in. Please come to the next one as well, and just keep asking questions. And this is like we're a community of authors trying to figure this out together. So I do really appreciate everyone's contributions and jumping in. So hopefully you guys enjoy it as well.
As well. And you guys, you are beloved to us. So thank you. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. So
Linda wrote something here. The thing that is giving me trouble
yeah,
is
she wants to
focus.
learn about AI, she said.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do a class. We'll do a class on AI. We will
That
plan
sounds
that.
good.
So, and speaking of that, Linda is our winner of the Amazon card tonight.
Yay.
Awesome.
So you can get an extra book or two or whatever you want. You can even get groceries, whatever you'd like to do. So I'll be sending you that information once I get your email, for sure. And then, Amy, I would love it if you would close us in prayer. I would appreciate it.
Yes, no problem. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Lord, for writers. Thank you for the gift of creativity, of stories, of wisdom. We just know that all things come from you. So we're just so thankful. I just pray for just your blessing, for your direction for these writers, that there would be ideas and next steps. And it wouldn't be too overwhelming, God. I just pray that there would be clarity on what's next. And it would be a light. Your burden is light. It's not heavy. So thank you, Lord, for what you want to give, what you want to bless with. And we just praise you for tonight. Thank you for Julie, for her willingness to teach and to share with us so that we could collaborate with each other and really build community. We're so thankful, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Well,
Thank you,
yes,
everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John.
you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
Take care.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.